If you're a man who travels for work and you feel like you're training consistently, but you don't look like you do, you're probably making one or more of these common mistakes that men who travel for work make training on work trip. After coaching hundreds of men that travel for work, I see the same training mistakes holding these men back over and over again. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what those mistakes are, and more importantly, what to do instead so your work trips stop costing you progress. I'm going to break down the biggest mistakes that I see and explain why they're stopping you building muscle and give you some simple, practical tips that you can go away and implement on your next work trip. So I've got 15 I'm going to go into. I'm going to try not to keep this very long. I'm going to try and keep it nice and concise. I'm not very good at this usually, and so we'll get going. The first one is rushing your sessions. Oh my God, this is my pet hate. My clients will know this. If you only have 30 to 40 minutes available, like, you end up just rushing through the entire session, right? It means every set goes to shit. The quality goes out the window. The muscles aren't getting worked properly because our form goes out the window. The rest periods become too short, so we're not recovering. So every set after the first set, we can only give 50% anyway. And essentially, we're just losing that intensity and losing that quality. So what I want you to do is keep intensity the same as any other session, even if we have to change the movements. But we can just shave a set, 2 sets off each exercise. If we usually do 4 of each exercise, then just do 2 if that's the only time you have available. If it usually takes you 60 minutes and you've got 30 minutes, usually do 4 sets of each, just do 2 sets of each. Yeah, but we have to make sure that the intensity is still there. We need the sets to count. We need the stimulus to be there. And if not, if we're just going through the motions and we're just getting it done as quick as possible to say we've got it done, we're going to be leaving so much on the table. All right. Number 2 is not moving your sessions around your work travel schedule. So you need to be sitting down on the day before you travel. You don't have to sit down. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but you need to identify what days you're away, what days training is absolutely not going to happen if you've got a long travel day. Maybe you've got a conference all day and a dinner in the evening, and we need to plan our sessions in onto the days, 3 days, 2 days, whatever that looks like, in which your sessions are the most likely to happen. All right, and so that has to be done. Like, it's planning your sessions. We do this with everyone inside the program. Planning your sessions depending on your travel, dinners, client meetings, family stuff as well, social stuff. You have to be on top of this. Otherwise, you're leaving potential progress on the table because something will come up. It's inevitable. It always does, right? Ask yourself, and we won't end up getting all our sessions in. Obviously, we can't always stick to this 100% either. But does that mean we shouldn't do it? No, absolutely not. Number 3, swapping exercises instead of like matching the movement. So, for example, if you have a seated row machine, you usually do that, okay? Quite often, what I've seen is if we get to a gym in the hotel, for example, and that machine is not there, then we just pick a random other movement to do. And it might be a chest move. It might not be the same movement pattern. It might not be it might be a chest movement, right? I've seen this before, and so ultimately, if you don't have the gym knowledge, that's fine. Like, it's not a problem. But once it happened once, we want to learn that lesson, and we want to learn from it. All right. So it might be a case of if there's a Smith machine, or there's a barbell, or there's something as simple that we can just kind of hold on to. We could do an inverted row where you lie underneath the Smith machine bar, hold onto the bar, and you kind of pull your chest up to it. Same kind of movement pattern. Yeah. So we want to swap movements, not movement patterns. Okay. Number 4, skipping training because there's no gym. Right. If you skip your training because there's nothing available, so you just don't do anything, you're never going to build the body that you want, because you're going to be on, off, up, down like a yo-yo, and that doesn't create long-lasting, significant changes. Like, it's as simple as that. So if you don't have a gym, we need to do a body weight session. We need to have a body weight session ready to go. That is something that is key here. Even if it's just one session, which kind of covers all bases, that you do whenever you're in this situation, like, that's absolutely fine. You might get a bit bored of it at some stage, depending on how often you use it, but then you can mix it up. But rinse and repeat that. If it's a good quality, efficient session, you get comfortable with the movements, making the body weight movements really difficult with the introduction of resistance bands if needed, then that's awesome, all right? But if you go away and you don't do your sessions, if you're doing that regularly, which if you're traveling regularly, you probably are, then you're going to be in a tricky spot. And no wonder you're still saying, why do I not look like I train when you look at yourself in the mirror? DM me the number 8 and the word week over on Instagram, and I'll send you through a 8-week progressive resistance band bodyweight plan. You can have that for free. 5, thinking you're too good for resistance bands. This is an ego thing. This is not anyone else's problem. This is your problem. You need to put your ego aside. When I was on a ski season once, right, we had some lessons doing some freestyle, doing some spins, 360s, all this kind of stuff, going a bit on a sidetrack. But I was well into it at the time, and I had no kind of obviously it's quite dangerous, right? We're doing spins and you're potentially going to hurt yourself. And we got a lesson doing it because we wanted to get really good, me and a couple of friends. And this guy was unbelievable on skis in the snow park, doing the jumps, everything. It was crazy. And he said, like, the first thing you guys have to do when you learn freestyle, when you do the tricks, you have to like lift your brain out of your head, set it over there, and just leave it there, because you cannot do this if you're like scared of what's going to happen. If you're scared of getting hurt, if you're scared of an injury, you have to like just put that over there and just do it, you know, because you'll never fully commit to something if you don't do it. All right. And so if the same thing with this, like we need to remove our ego, put it aside, because if you use resistance bands properly, you can get so much good stuff out of them. Okay. You can get a real good stimulus by just doing them properly. All right. And it just opens up the door to being able to do so many more things than if you just were able to do body weight stuff and you're in a hotel room. So yeah, leave your ego at home, put that aside, leave it in your wardrobe at home, under your bed, and just learn to use resistance bands in a kind of efficient and effective way, because really you can take things to another level. Number 6, skipping the session because you don't have a full hour. Like if your sessions usually take an hour and you don't have an hour, you have 40 minutes, you maybe even 20 minutes, and you just skip it altogether because you don't have that full time. That is the wrong attitude. And thinking about it now, and I didn't have this written down, but like if that is your attitude, then you aren't probably ever going to make serious progress, because you're always looking for that way out. So that's something you need to ask yourself. The solution is, look, half a workout beats no workout at all. If we do 3 half workouts instead of 3 full workouts, that's far better than 2 workouts or like no workouts, right? The more we can do, the better of our normal session. And so, you know, if you string enough of these weeks together where we're still getting something done, and again, as I said earlier, instead of rushing through it, just take sets off and make sure that intensity is still there. Or again, even if there is a gym and we're short on time and actually getting there, warming up and stuff is going to take too long, getting back, and we are very short on time, that's when we can just grab our resistance bands out of our bag, because we packed them, and we can do some body weight stuff in our room. You know, getting something done is always better than nothing. Remember that. Number 7, training just to like tick the box, just to say you've gone to the gym, just to go to dinner and tell your colleagues or management, just say, yeah, I've just come from the gym. You know, that is an ego thing, because we're going through the motions just to say we've done it, right? Finishing the workout without really working hard. You know, when you walk into the elevator after the gym to go back up to your room, you see yourself in the mirror, you know whether you've worked hard. You know whether you've worked hard compared to, you know, whether you've worked hard at the right stuff with the right intention. So the solution is making sure every set has purpose. No matter how many you do, making sure they all have purpose. You're training with intent, and every set it counts. Ultimately, I've seen so many men, whether I've coached people or not, like way before this, go to the gym for years and still look the same. What a fucking waste of time. If you're putting in all this effort, I want to get bang for my buck, right? I want to get the absolute most out of it. So I feel like common sense would say anyone would, but it's not the case, especially when our ego is involved. Number 8, training too late in the day. If you wait till the afternoon, after work, the evening to get your session in, that's when it's planned. And if I had to pluck a number out of thin air, there's got to be like a 75% chance that isn't getting done, I reckon. Because with the nature of your work, with the nature of travel, with the nature of things coming up, unpredictable schedules, like the chances of something getting delayed or something running over or something popping up or a client calling you or a colleague asking you to come for dinner, like something is going to happen. And so the sooner we get that done in the day, get it done in the morning before the work day, not only will you feel fantastic afterwards, but like it's 100% going to get done. It's in your control, right? So why would we let something that we need to do, something important to us, potentially be out of our control? Number 9, getting distracted in the gym. When you go to the gym, I don't care how busy you say you are, my guys are doing it and it's changed the game for them. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb as soon as you get into the gym. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. If you waste half of that time that you're in the gym, you're probably saying, haven't really got time to do this, I need to be in and out quickly. If you waste any time answering emails, answering the phone, people don't need you 24/7. So you can have that hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to yourself. Put it on Do Not Disturb. Yeah. Be present with the session. Make sure your rest periods are consistent. This is a big one. You could rest 1 minute and then you could be on the phone and rest 10 minutes. And we have to be consistent with this stuff. All right. And there's no reason why you can't just pop your phone on Do Not Disturb, because that is going to eliminate everything. Okay. Yeah. And ultimately, with everybody I work with, and I'm sure it's the case with you guys listening, like time is limited, time is precious in our industries. On work trips, we're only there for a finite amount of time. Stuff needs to get done. So don't waste any of the time that you're actually prioritizing yourself and your health. Number 10, trying to progress on completely different equipment. This is something we have to be think realistically about. We have to understand. I've had clients approach me about this before. You cannot often compare certain equipment with other equipment, even if it's the machine is doing the same thing, the same movement. On one, you could lift twice as you can on another. Cable machines are a good example of this. Like you could lift 50 kilos doing a movement on one cable machine, and another one doesn't move as smoothly. It's a bit older, maybe just the make is different, the pulleys work in a different way, and you can barely do 20. Like that is unfortunately the case sometimes. And so expecting to be able to compare, or the fact maybe thinking you've progressed massively, or you've taken a massive step backwards. Like unfortunately, sometimes we just cannot compare. We have to understand that this is kind of just how it works. Different makes of machines as well can just feel very different. So don't get emotional about that kind of thing, and just expect it potentially, and try to always have your home gym or wherever you train the most. That's where we really identify how we're progressing. Not tracking your training properly. So just because we're away on a work trip, we're busy, when we are in situations, especially with dumbbells and barbells, things like that, that is universally very similar or the same. So like we should still be tracking our movements. We should be tracking everything. And if you work with a coach, if you work with myself, for example, within my coaching app, you'll be able to track everything, see all your history of movements. Okay. This is fundamental because we have to aim to progressively overload. All right. And ultimately, when you're busy, when you've got lots on, when you've got people chasing you, you've got things to do, when you're running a company, when you're running a team of people, you're traveling a lot, you've got that to think about as well. If we don't need to store it up here, we can store it in our phone, on a note on our phone, in a coaching app. That's what you need to do. It takes one thing out of your brain, and you've got something telling you what you did previously. You don't need to remember it, but you need to be tracking it. Okay. The point I wanted to make there is also we have to be realistic, right? We have to be realistic, because ultimately, if we've had a long travel day, we're dehydrated from the plane, the plane journey, we didn't sleep well because we're in a new bed, like in a different bed in a different country, in a hotel. Maybe the food at dinner didn't quite sit well with us because we're in a different country. It's kind of different cultures' food. Like, there's a million of reasons why we might not feel quite up to it on a work trip. So it's very possible that that's going to affect our training. Okay, and so if we don't feel as strong as we have done, don't feel like you're stepping backwards or you're not getting something out of it, or you shouldn't do it, because you absolutely should. It's about showing up and continuing to just give your all, and understanding that sometimes our all, and I heard this, and I hope I don't butcher it, but it was really kind of impactful. And I've remembered it, and I don't remember a lot without writing things down. On any given day, for example, if you only have 50% to give on a day because you've had a long travel day, because you've really struggled with adjusting to this time zone you're now in, if you only have 50% to give, and you give that 50%, that's 100% of what you could give. And that is more than you can ask for. That is what we want to aim for. If you have 90% to give, and you give that 90%, or if you have 90% to give and you only give 70%, compared to if you have only 50% you can give and you give 50, that is what we want. All right, we want to be giving everything we can. Number 12, missing sessions and then trying to catch up. This is huge, and it's one thing I have to rein my clients in with. If, for example, because of a work trip, something happens and you, for example, can only get one of your 3 sessions done that week, the last thing I want you to be doing is to do 5 sessions the following week to catch up. All right? What's done is done. If we let our or if we try and play catch up, it affects our recovery for the following week. We end up even more sore. We end up more tired. It's going to impact our ability to make good decisions with our diet. Like, the knock-on effect, we'll have less time to kind of think about our food, less time to spend with the family. Then we want to rein things in because it's like, oh, my wife's not happy. Like, there's a million things that are going on here that if we try and play catch up with our sessions, it's not gonna end well. All right, so don't chase those missed workouts. Pick the program back up where you left off. All right, if we've gone halfway through the week, if we're Thursday and usually we would have done 2 sessions, but we've only managed to do 1, and our 3rd session is usually on a Friday, then shimmy it back. Do 1 Friday and Sunday. That's absolutely fine. But once we've got to the end of the week and we have only done 1 session, like, don't go plug in those 2 sessions in next week, all right? Because we still need adequate recovery, and our body will be shocked if we just all of a sudden did 5 sessions and it won't like it. Number 13, don't expect to beat your personal best every trip. As I've just said, that's kind of similar to that one, actually. Getting frustrated if you're not lifting the right weights, the same weights as at home. Again, the equipment's very different. It can be very different. That's very normal. That's kind of I've made the same point twice there. Number 14, thinking every session has to be perfect. And this kind of is a blanket one that covers a few different ones we've worked out. But if you can't do your full workout, not doing anything is a no-go. Yeah, I've kind of touched on that already. So we'll move on to the 15th and final one, is judging your workout by how tired you feel. All right. This is a big mistake because you assume a workout potentially wasn't effective because you didn't leave exhausted, you didn't leave covered in sweat. Quite often, resistance training sessions, like, they're not going to make you sweat as much as if you were doing kind of high intensity cardio. You might not initially feel completely drained, but like, whether you've worked hard and given everything to every set, And also like this chasing soreness thing. Like a lot of people don't feel like they haven't had a good session, a weight session, if they don't feel sore afterwards. After week 1 or 2, like we shouldn't be feeling sore after sessions really, because that just shows that there's a big gap in what we've given 1 week compared to the next week in terms of how hard we've worked and how intense we've worked. Obviously, if we change the movements up, we're doing a different plan, we're doing different movement patterns, that's when we're likely to feel sore. It's essentially when you haven't, when you're doing something a bit different or the intensity is very different. All right, so that's kind of the 15 things, or 13-ish if you probably take away a couple that are very similar. But ultimately, like there's a lot there. There's a lot of mistakes that quite a lot of them come down to not having a massive amount of time, right? And feeling rushed and wanting to get things in, or not sure if we can get things in. And this is something that unfortunately, like, is the reality of your job and your work, and it's going to be very tricky. And we need to manage this the best we can. And ultimately, if training is something that you want to focus on and get the result you get from that, if you want to build a strong body, you want to be more active, you want to be able to lift your kids above your head, you want to be able to throw them in the pool on holiday, you want these things. And ultimately, the older we get, we need to stay as strong as we can, hold on to as much muscle mass as we can. Over the age of like 35, our testosterone starts to go down. We lose muscle mass if we don't do anything to combat that every single year. And so we need to be getting the most out of our session. And the one thing that I really want to push, the one point that I really want to push, is that you, like, if you put in all this effort to lose body fat and you still don't like how you look, like how demoralizing would that be? And so making sure that you combat any muscle loss and you work hard to try and build some muscle mass during that fat loss phase, you put in the effort, you put in the time, is just gonna exponentially improve how you feel in yourself when you get to that point where you're nice and lean and you're happy with your body fat. Yeah, and also, like, if you are somebody who's fairly new to training, not that experienced, get advice on your form. Ask people in the gym who you think know what they're doing. Ask a personal trainer in the gym just to help you with your form. Get a coach, get an online coach, get somebody who can help you identify whether your form is slightly wrong and whether you could be getting more out of that movement. And that's what we want. That's what we want to be spot on ASAP, so then you can progress the weights and the reps to get the most out of every rep and every set and every session. And if you want to potentially, find out more about my coaching, my clients send me videos of them in the gym every as often as possible, especially when we start a new program. And we make sure that they are doing everything correctly, no matter where they are in the world and no matter where they are with their work travel, whether they're at home, whether they're there's a video on my Instagram, if you go and have a scroll back, of one of my clients doing some press-ups outside the Sydney Opera House. Like, we just get it done. All right, that's not where he had to do his session. It was a challenge that we set. But if you want to know a bit more about my coaching, if you want to know a little bit more about how that would work and how we could help you make the most of every single session, no matter where you are in the world and where your work travel takes you, to get the most out of it and build that body that you want, then there's a link in the description of this video that you can click through. There's a short video, maybe 5 minutes, probably a little bit less actually, explaining a little bit more about the program, and you can kind of book a call just to discuss your situation. I can give you some advice. No sales call, no obligation to buy anything. But if you do want to know more about how that would work, then you can absolutely do that. And if not, then I can just give you some advice and send you on your way. But I appreciate you watching, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe, comment down below. Let me know how many of those mistakes you're making and how many you're going to combat and get in the best place possible. And I will see you in the next one.